We need to talk about FIFA. And listen, I wasn't really going to make this video because right now we're working on one about Argentina. But what's happening is just insane, right? Every single time we think FIFA and Gianni Infantino have taken it too far, they take it even further. It gets worse. Right now, the drama is about selling stakes of the World Cup, which essentially would lead to private ownership of the World Cup. We're going to talk about that in a second. But there's a lot more that I want to address because what's happening right now with soccer or global football is that we are trending in the wrong direction. And as much as many people say that they can never ruin the World Cup, it's impossible, right? The World Cup is too strong from a cultural standpoint. That's not true. A lot of big things have been destroyed due to greed, corruption. I mean, the Roman Empire was destroyed due to greed and corruption. So the World Cup over the long run could be destroyed if we keep going on the direction that we're going. And today I want to talk about all of that very quickly. I'm just going to yap. I'm just going to go through what's going on right now, what's going on in the 2030, 2034 World Cup, the trying to sell stakes to private owners, and much more. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Chappelle Football. And today, I don't have much more to yap about. I'm just going to go straight to the episode. I just want to talk about FIFA, everything that's going on, why this is actually very bad. Uefa nations are threatening to boycott at the time of this recording. CONCACAF nations might boycott. Things are getting a bit spicy, and I just feel like we have to talk about it. So if you kindly could, make sure to drop a like in this video. If you haven't already, do it right now. Subscribe also. Help us hit 30,000 subscribers. We're getting very close, so just do it right now. But again, hitting the like button is a great way to support the channel. With that said, let's roll the intro and start talking about our beloved Gianni Infantino and FIFA. Okay, so where do I even start? All right, let's start with this. A few days ago, there were reports that came out saying that FIFA was planning on selling stakes of the World Cup, right? The biggest sporting event in the world, the most profitable sporting event in the world. They want to sell stakes of the World Cup. Because understand, per Swiss law, FIFA is a nonprofit, which means they cannot sell stakes of FIFA. FIFA cannot have an owner. It cannot be privately owned. So what FIFA and Gianni Infantino are trying to do here is they're trying to create a corporation or an enterprise or a company, a business that owns the World Cup event, obviously FIFA being the one controlling, but this corporation would control the World Cup. And for that specific enterprise or corporation, they can sell stakes, which means the World Cup would be privately owned. And you may be saying, what's the problem with that? The World Cup is already profitable, right? It already runs a profit. The problem is the game will become driven by shareholder returns. The owners want the profit rather than reinvest it in the game. The World Cup is meant to profit, and FIFA is supposed to, right? Do they do that? That's a different discussion. But they're supposed to get the profits of the World Cup and reinvest in the game, right? Whether it's the right way, the wrong way, it doesn't matter. That's what the World Cup is meant for in that sense. The moment you have private ownership, it's just to enrich rich owners. They're just going to, the ticket prices are going to go up. The World Cups will become longer. It's going to start happening every 2 years eventually. So there's a big issue there. That's not what the World Cup is meant for. Okay. And then that rumor came out a few days ago. And then today, as I'm recording this, obviously you're probably not watching this as I'm recording it, but today this came out. All right. I'm recording this July 30th. It's called the FIFA Forward Enterprise. And they're saying, what is this? Key infos that you need to know. It's essentially what people were talking about, right? What is the FIFA Forward Enterprise, FFE? If approved by FIFA member associations and the FIFA Council following the conclusion of the consultation process launched on July 28th, so that's when the rumors started to come out, the FFE would be a FIFA-owned and controlled subsidiary consolidating FIFA's commercial rights and event operations. Again, this is essentially a private company, right, that FIFA will control, that will run all the FIFA events, the World Cup probably, the FIFA Club World Cup, everything FIFA related. And that will allow them to sell stakes to get private ownership involved. It's unbelievable that they're trying to do this, right? They think we're stupid. They think you're stupid. They think I'm stupid. They think everyone's stupid. They're saying, is FIFA selling the FIFA World Cup? So they addressed it. They said, no, the FIFA World Cup is not for sale and nor any part of FIFA's governance of the game. FIFA's proposing a FIFA-owned and controlled commercial subsidiary to bring a dedicated commercial expertise and long-term capital to its existing rights and events. The aim is to unlock more value for reinvestment in the game. That is a load of crap, right? Because the moment you bring in private investors, the private investors are not going to be donating money to the World Cup. They're going to buy shares, they're going to buy stakes on the World Cup, and they're going to expect a profit. And that profit will go to them, and they're going to do whatever they want with it. They're not going to donate it to FIFA, okay? So that is a load of crap. And they say, what would FFE be responsible for? Its mandate would be to grow the value of FIFA's commercial rights and event operations for the benefit of FIFA's 211 members and a wider game, unlocking commercial value that has previously gone uncaptured. Again, load of crap. You can say whatever you want. What would stay with FIFA? FIFA would continue to do everything it does today to govern and develop football, including regulating and defining competitions, organize. Okay, they're going to organize it, but at the end of the day, there will be stakeholders in regards to the events. They can be the organizers, sure, but ultimately it's going to serve for the financial interest of the rich people that own it. If you don't see a problem with that, I don't know what to say. And it's funny because people keep saying this, like, there's no way they can destroy the World Cup. We're going towards a path that not 4 years, not 8 years from now, but maybe 20, 30 years, they will have destroyed the World Cup if we keep going down this path. It's a reality, right? Because this is not what the World Cup was meant for. What would this mean for the fans? This says the game fans watch and love won't change. That's not true because it's been changing, and we're going to talk about that in a second. It says FIFA will continue to govern football, and the flagship tournaments it organizes will always remain. However, a stronger commercial operation would mean more revenue return to FIFA's 211 members, funding better pitches, stronger national teams, more pathways. Again, load of crap. That is not true. And what's funny, I'm not even going to continue to read this, right? This is just, has this already been set up without input of others? No. Again, they haven't done it because they still need the members. But look at the context that was added here on Twitter. It is hilarious because it's true. This is a smokescreen to distract from FIFA's president Gianni Infantino planning to sell stakes in the World Cup to private investors under a scheme that could potentially earn him tens of millions of pounds or dollars, colluding with Trump associates. Exactly. Okay, and I'm not here against or endorsing Donald Trump, but yes, the Trump administration is involved in this. I saw that Jared Kushner is involved in this, right, in regards to getting private investors. To me, this is insane that this is even a real plan, and boycotts and protests are already happening. And the first thing that I saw today that I want to address real quick before we go to other issues with FIFA is Infantino insists that the FIFA World Cup plan is a proposal and not an obligation. No shit, moron. You're not the dictator of football here. Like there are federations, associations, members of FIFA, and you're not the dictator, right? So you can't just do whatever you want, like sell stakes of the World Cup to enrich other rich people and your buddies, and even enrich yourself possibly, right? He's saying it's not an obligation, but it's a stupid proposal that should not exist, driven by greed and very likely corruption. And like I said earlier in this video, when people say that they can't destroy the World Cup, if we continue to go this path, we can. The Roman Empire, I'm oversimplifying it, was destroyed due to corruption and greed. You're telling me the World Cup cannot be destroyed due to corruption and greed? You think the World Cup is bigger than what the Roman Empire was? It just takes time, right? You're not going to destroy the World Cup in 2-3 editions. It's not going to be in 4 years. It's not going to be in 12 years. 20, 30 years from now, if we continue to go this path, down this path, why can't it be destroyed? And then ultimately, we're seeing some, as I'm recording this again, we start to see some news like this, like Adam Crafton is saying, CONCACAF's 41 nations are meeting for an emergency call today at 12:30 p.m. So soon, right? Today, July 30th. You're probably watching this early August. Concerns about the process, transparency on why a cash-rich FIFA needs external investment. They don't need it. That's the thing. A very rich FIFA does not need private investors. They don't need it. They want it. There's a difference. Or Gianni wants it. Will they follow UEFA's boycott or strengthen previous statements of concern? I don't know, because look, when it comes to CONCACAF, corruption is insane. CONCACAF and CONMEBOL, the corruption levels are off the chart. So I could see them going with it as long as it benefits them, right? And then when you saw the reference there to UEFA, for example, so this is what's been reported about UEFA. Breaking UEFA sources tell TalkSport all 55 members of UEFA have decided to boycott the Men's and Women's World Cup in protest at Gianni Infantino's FIFA Forward Enterprise plans. UEFA members have agreed on an emergency call that began around 2 p.m. today. So, as I said, today, July 30th, that's when I'm recording this. By the time you're watching this, a few things might have changed already. My prediction is that this FIFA Enterprise thing won't go through, at least not now. Maybe 4 years from now, maybe 10 years from now. Right now, I don't think it'll go through. There's too much backlash. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Super League. Do you guys remember the Super League that didn't go through? That's what it kind of reminds me. Where greed took over, the fans stepped up. In this case, the fans and the associations, the federations are stepping up. I don't think it's going to happen. That's my prediction. They will not support any FIFA-run tournament if this thing happens. So it's an outright war between UEFA and FIFA right now. It looks like CONCACAF might also be against it. Hopefully, CONMEBOL comes out. But again, CONMEBOL is another confederation that is extremely corrupt. Allegedly, I guess I have to say it that way. Even though there's been a lot of like legitimate corruption cases with CONMEBOL, Africa also, Asia I don't hear too much, but Asia you hear a lot with the Saudis, the Qataris. You hear a lot of that. But just to close this video, I want to talk about one thing that happened a while back. Right, when you look into towards the direction that the World Cup is going, I want to pull up like the World Cup hosts. Right. So 1998 we had France, and then in 2002, I mean they kind of started that in the 90s, but in 2002 FIFA actually started to try to implement rotation of continents, right? Which I agree with. You want to have the World Cup in different continents to help grow the game. Everyone should be able to host a World Cup at some point, every continent, right? So in 2002 we had it in Asia, which was South Korea and Japan. Then in 2006, we had Germany. 2010, we had South Africa. So Asia, Europe, Africa. Then we had 2014 in Brazil, which was South America. That meant that we would be back in 2018. We would be in Russia, which would be Europe, which honestly, it should have been North America. But anyhow, they went to Russia. The 2022 World Cup is where things start to get overly controversial. Obviously, 2018, there was a lot of controversy as well. But 2022 was meant to be in the United States of America. But FIFA gave it to Qatar, and you can look it up, the multiple accusations and reasons to that. Again, corruption accusations. And then FIFA Gate happened. Remember FIFA Gate, where the United States and the FBI started arresting a bunch of people related to FIFA? That's why. And then ultimately, the 2026 World Cup went to the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico. Okay? Now, so that's already one big issue, right, with corruption, the 2022 Qatar World Cup, and then the United States just arresting a bunch of FIFA members. Then the United States gets the 2026 World Cup. And then if you keep going down here, the 2034 World Cup will be in Saudi Arabia, which is weird because that's Asia. And we just had it in Qatar in 2022. So technically, before we go back to Asia, we would need one in North America, 2026. We would need South America, Europe, Africa. We need like 4 or 5 editions. Instead, we're having 2 editions and we're going back to Asia. And this is where it gets interesting. FIFA wanted to give it to Saudi Arabia. You probably guessed why. Because of money, right? Again, greed, corruption, always the same things, right? Now, there's no proof of corruption with Saudi Arabia, so I can't really say it's corruption, but we're just going to say it's money. It's due to money. So what FIFA did was very smart in a bad way, right? The 2030 World Cup has 6 host nations. The host nations should have just been Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay because it's the 100th anniversary of the World Cup. The first one was in Uruguay, if I'm not mistaken. It should have just been Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. Maybe you throw Brazil in if you need a few more stadiums, but it should have been South America. Then 2038, 2034, you could go to like maybe Europe, right? And then after Europe, you have to go back, or Africa, Europe or Africa in 2034. Then 2038, Europe. Then 2042 could go back to Asia, Saudi Arabia, or whatever. But what FIFA did was, along with having, they selected Spain and Portugal with Morocco to host it. So that covers Europe and Africa. So guess what? You already had a World Cup in Africa and Europe, so you don't need to have the next one there. And then on top of that, they're going to put a few games in Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. So essentially, in 2030, FIFA found a way to cover Africa, Europe, and South America, which allows them to bring the 2034 World Cup back to Asia, to Saudi Arabia. Why am I even talking about this? It's just to show that the game, the decisions made by FIFA are no longer meant to try to grow the game. Not that it was like that in the past. Like when it comes to like Sepp Blatter and those guys, João Velange, it was almost as bad. I'm just saying it's getting worse. And the problem with corruption, I mean, there's many problems with corruption, but the problem with corruption is that it's like a snowball. It keeps getting worse and worse because the more corrupt you get, the more people you have to bribe, the more money you have to allocate to try to distribute, the more politics you have to move one thing this way, that way to get things done. You have to get very political to get things done, and things start to get worse. So, has this been a problem before Infantino was around? Yes, it was a problem well before Infantino. The problem is it's getting worse. And the way it's going over the next 10 to 15 years, I am looking at this and I'm seeing it getting worse and worse to a point where it's almost unsustainable. I don't know what's going to happen to the World Cup over the long run. I'm just saying that we are trending in the wrong direction. This is not looking good. But you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Maybe I'll cover more of this, or maybe we're just going to go straight to the Argentina video that I want to make. Brazil. Let us know any video suggestions that you would like for this channel. Drop a like in this video if you haven't already. Do it right now. It helps the channel quite a bit. And that's all for today. I just really wanted to talk about this because it's kind of insane. Every time I think FIFA has taken it too far in Infantino, they say, hold my beer, and they take it even further. Okay? Bye-bye.